Hello everyone. In this video, we learn how to implement decorators in Python. A decorator is an interesting feature of Python which helps us to add functionality to an existing code. Before we start anything about decorators, we need to understand some prerequisites. As you know, everything is an object in Python and functions are first-class objects. Here we are going to cover a couple of things about the function. The first thing, which is we can assign our function to a normal variable. So let me design it. Simple function, and it has a message which prints hello. Now I'm going to assign this function to a normal variable. When I'm going to call this function in this manner, let's see the output. The output says hello, which means this A has now reference of this simple function. This is part 1. Now, in the second part about the function, what we are going to implement is we can create nested functions, also known as inner functions. So here, simple would be my outer function. I'm going to call inner function, but let me design it first. Print inner function called, and here I'm going to call the inner function simple call, and see the output is inner function call, which means what? We have called an outer function, but in the part of outer function body, inner function has been executed, inner function has been called, which means that inner function would be executed and the output would be inner function call. So this is what inner function is. The third part about the function, which is a function can return a function. So let me modify this function and write return statement over here, return inner function. So when I'm going to call this simple function returns something, and it returns actually an inner function. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to write a variable in which I can store something, and then I'm going to call that function. So when I run this program, the output would be again inner function call, which means what? Now we have called simple function. Inside that simple function, we have created inner function, and the outer function, which is simple, it returns inner function, and we have stored that return value to the variable a, and by executing this syntax, we are able to execute this inner function. Okay, the next one is that you can pass function as an argument. So here I'm going to define a simple function, and it has print a message which is hello. I'm going to create another function which is, let's say, outer, and this function accept function as an argument, and here I'm going to call the function. So what I'm going to do over here is I'm going to call outer function, but in the parameter I'm going to pass simple, which means what? When I call the outer function and simple passed as an argument, this argument function would be simple and the simple function would be executed. Let's execute this program. Hello. As you can see the output, it gives us hello, which means what? We are able to pass function as an argument to another function. So there are 4 points that we have demonstrated. Let me tell you those 4 points. The first point is that we can assign our function to a normal variable. The second one is we can create nested functions. We can create inner functions. The third one, which was we can return the function from a function. And the fourth one is we can pass function as an argument. Now let's jump to create decorators by a very simple program. First I'm going to write again a simple function. That simple function has a print message which is hello everyone. Now I'm going to use decorator function. So first let me write my first decorator, and as the definition of decorator says, decorator is an interesting feature which actually adds some functionality. Basically, it means that it takes your function as an input and adds some functionality and returns it. So this decorator accepts your function as an argument. Now I'm going to write the inner function and function call, or a simple message print that I got decorated. See, this is not the final implementation of decorator. Still there are some lines are missing, but I deliberately did not write it because I need you to understand it very clearly that when I'm going to call the simple function, so this is how I'm going to call a simple function and it will print hello everyone. But I would like to add some functionality without changing the code of my simple function. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to call first underscore decorator function and I will pass simple in the argument. So what happens exactly is that first underscore decorator function takes simple as an argument. So this function which I have used as an argument, it accepts the simple, and the wrapper function will call this print I got decorated function, and here I am going to write return wrapper, which means here I need to write something just because my first underscore decorator function returns something, and whatever the first underscore decorator function returns, it's a function. So here a is equal to first underscore decorator and simple, and when I'm going to write this, which means what, the first underscore decorator will return the wrapper, it is stored in A, and when I call this A, which eventually means it will call a wrapper. So when I'm going to run the program, the output is I got decorated and hello everyone. See, what happens exactly is when you call the first underscore decorator function by applying the argument simple, it actually jumps to the wrapper function, it prints the message, and the function, which is nothing but a simple function, it will be called, and then it returns the function call to the return wrapper. So here when you are going to call this A is equal to first underscore decorator, and this is the syntax to apply the decorator to a function. There is another syntax also of decorator that we can use if you do not want to use it, which is very simple. You just need to use @ sign and you need to write the name of the decorator, which is first underscore decorator. At that time, when you call your simple function in this manner, at that time it first checks whether your function is being decorated or not. If your function is decorated, at that time it directly jumps over here. Let's see this by debugging it. Let me put the breakpoint over here on line number 16, and I'm going to debug my implementation so we can check step by step where exactly when we call simple function it moves to which line. Ideally, when we think about the simple function, it should jump to the line number 11 just because it is the body part, it is the starting point of the body part of simple function. So let me step into, so when the breakpoint is on line number 16 and when we start step into, the first line is going to be executed, which is line number 4 instead of line number 11, which means what, when you run this simple function, it checks that whether the function is being decorated or not. If that function is being decorated, which means that directly jumps to this line, line number 4. So that message will be printed. The next line is function, which means our simple function, it comes to line number 11, back to the function call, and then the calling function simple. So this is how the decorator works. This is a very simple case. Now we need to understand one more thing over here. Let the aim of this program is adding of two numbers. So when I'm going to write number 1 comma number 2 over here and print number 1 comma number 2, which means I would like to perform addition of number 1 and number 2. So here my simple function accepts two arguments. So what we need to do is we need to supply arguments over here as well. So here I'm going to write a comma b, and when the function called I need to write a comma b, and here 8 comma 9. So ultimately the target of the program is to perform addition of 8 and 9. So the output would be 8 plus 9. So let me remove the breakpoint. When we are going to execute this program, the output would be 8 plus 9, and let's see the output. The output is I got decorated and 17. We got the expected output. But think about one case where we are going to use a decorator for multiple functions, and all the functions are accepting 1 or 2 or 3 or 4 arguments. So what we need to write in the decorator part? This is the problem. When my one function accepts 2 arguments, another function accepts 3 arguments, so at that time we cannot use a single decorator for all the functions. But Python has the solution. Python can use positional arguments and keyword arguments. So here we need to write this positional arguments and keyword arguments. Okay, let me run the program again. See the output. I got decorated and 17, which means what? When you know that you are going to use the decorator for multiple functions, and those functions may accept the argument and you do not know the number of arguments. So at that time it is better to use this positional argument and keyword argument. Okay. Now suppose that simple function does not want to print the result. It actually returns the result number 1 plus number 2. So when I am going to call this function returns something, so I need to print the result. But here the simple function 8, 9, it directly goes to the wrapper function just because it got decorated, and it prints the message print I got decorated, the function call. Here this simple function returns something. So what we need to do is we need to store some return value over here, and we need to write return x, or you can also write the direct statement return and this function call. But to make it very simple, I have created 2 lines, x is equal to function and the function call and return x. So let's run the program again. I got decorated and 17. Let's check the number of argument concept again. Here I am going to write num3. In calling I am going to add 10, which means now I would like to add 8 plus 9 plus 10. So I do not need to think about the argument over here. So when I am going to run this program, see the output is 17. Oh, actually this is just because I forgot to add num3 over here. So when I am going to run this program, the output is I got decorated 27. So this function simple now accept 3 arguments, but the wrapper function does not need to change the code. So this is what the decorator, and this is how we can implement decorator. But this is very simple example I took just to explain you, because as the definition says, we can add the functionality to existing code without modifying the code. So here we are not going to implement the actual case, but let me give you one exercise over here that we are going to definitely cover in the second video. So the exercise is, you need to count the time of the execution time of a function. For an example, that function counts the factorial, let's say, or the function finds the square or cube, whatever the aim of the function is. But what you need to do is, you need to find start time, you need to find the end time, and you need to evaluate the execution time taken by that function. But you are not going to write the timing lines in that function. What you need to do is, you need to create a decorator, and inside the decorator you can write the line to save the starting time, save the ending time, and finding the difference between ending and starting, so we can get the time taken by that function. What we can do is, later on we are going to use the same decorator for more than one function. Yes, it is possible to use the same decorator for more than one function, and it is also possible that more than one decorators can be decorated in a single function. But that what we are going to cover in the next lecture, and for that you need to implement the exercise. As I said, I repeat the exercise, you need to create one function, one decorator. Inside that function you need to perform the aim, the specific aim, and you need to count the time, you need to measure the time, that how much time taken by that function. but that number of lines you are going to write inside the decorator. So what we can do is we can use the decorator to measure the time of another function. I hope you got it. In case if you have any doubt, you can ask the questions in the comment. Thank you.